Well, you can now purchase Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2 Deluxe Edition for $20 on Steam. So it's with all new rollback netcode update, which means that it's going to be playable online for once, first time since release 10 years ago. So there's never been a better time to get in. Or you could just play Plus R, which is on sale for $3. Please play Plus R. I will never stop shilling for Plus R, my favorite fighting game of all time.
Or, for the price of that, you can buy Half-Life and Half-Life 2.
Oh, is there a sale, or is that just the...
No, that's just the base price.
Half-Life is... Half-Life's $10.
Yes. Don't get Half-Life Source. Don't fucking do it.
What is Half-Life Source?
It's an incredibly... Alright, sorry, I need to go on a little rant, but
go
Half-Life
ahead.
1 is on Gold Source, which is a heavily modified version of a Quake engine, basically. And...
It was Quake 2, specifically.
I think it's, something
it's
like that.
It's like id Tech 3, I think.
id Tech 3, yeah, that specific version of the engine. Anyway, and it's fine. Half-Life's great, epic. And then for some reason, when they were about to release Half-Life 2, they were like, why don't we show how epic the new Source engine is? And they did the laziest port of all time, putting Half-Life from Gold Source to Source. And the game is buggy as shit. It's terrible, and the water looks too realistic alongside all the old textures. It's a very goofy port, and there's a whole video about all the things that are like broken with it. It's pretty funny, and I actually have a video that's privated on my channel of a Half-Life Source playthrough I did in 2013, and there were less bugs back then in the game.
Really?
So they're consistently breaking more stuff as they continue to change other shit, seemingly, push out new updates for the Source engine, and which I don't think they're doing much of anymore because they're on Source 2 with Half-Life Alyx and Dota. But yeah.
The reviews, the most recent review says it's good for Gmod.
Yeah, exactly. It's only good for content with Gmod, since Gmod's a Source game. You can't put Half-Life stuff in it, but anyway. What?
Someone says, I love this because you can play it like Gmod.
Yeah, you can actually play the Half-Life Source campaign in Gary's mod, so you can just
That's
make some
wild.
goofy shit.
And then there's a negative review that says, literally has a visual glitch that could cause seizures.
Yeah.
Damn.
Valve,
Nice.
man, they didn't used to be like, I don't know, I feel like people have definitely given Valve like the most epic company ever card for so long, but honestly, I've heard they were doing some pretty stupid shit back in the day. Like if you simply edited certain files that weren't hacking related in Half-Life, you'd get VAC banned on servers and stuff. But yeah, I don't know if that's true, but that's what I've heard.
What do you think is the worst remake or / port, like, of all time?
Half-Life Source is up there, but it's playable and completable, so it's pretty low on the list of like worst. I need to think for a second.
I have one in mind.
I heard Resident Evil 3 is not like the best remake ever of the original Resident Evil 3.
That's like a full remake. I was thinking more like
a port,
like a remaster port type thing, more in line of like Half-Life Source than like a Resident Evil remake type thing. Because that's just like from the ground up.
Enter the Matrix is up there. Yeah, it's got a PC port and it's not good. It's really not good. It takes all of the problems with the rest of the games and like it makes it worse. Like, I mean the rest of the ports. That's what I meant. Because it's interesting playing all the ports of Enter the Matrix because there's some problems with that game, that port, some problems with that port. It's interesting how inconsistent it can be. Like, there's certain problems with cutscenes in the Xbox version, which is supposed to be the best version of that game. But the PC port by far is the worst. Like, I played it for like 20 minutes and I was like, this is fucking garbage. Like, I can't imagine playing this with a keyboard. It's yeah, pretty dog shit. The best part is that it fits 1920 by 1080. That's about it. That's the only thing.
The one that comes to mind for me is actually a series of 6 games. So back in 2017, to preempt at the very beginning of 2017, in fact, and this was the year that Mega Man 11 was going to come out. Everyone was like really psyched for Mega Man 11. It was like, holy shit, it's coming back. And at the beginning of the year, Capcom was like, we know you guys like Mega Man, so we're going to give you guys a little treat to get ready for it. We're going to release the first 6 Mega Man games on mobile. It's called Mega Man Mobile. They're all going to be released individually for like $1 each, which is okay, all right. And then the games come out, and they don't run. Like, you know how you say something's like running? They crawl. I have it up on the Crappy Games wiki. They hover at around 10 to 15 frames per second. These are NES games running on like 2017 mobile devices.
Yeah, that's pretty pathetic. Like, the programming and the graphics in especially the first Mega Man game. I've only played the first 4, by the way, but the first Mega Man game is so like simple. It's insane.
So it's every background's like one color. Like honestly, you know, the original like NES Mega Man games always had a bit of a like slowdown issues, just because like they just love throwing a bunch of sprites on screen. You get a little bit of stuttering and like sprite flickering, but this was like constant, like barely playable. Also, it had one of those weird bad like mobile touchscreen controllers.
Yeah,
where it's like a D-pad and for some reason 3 buttons. The here it says that it has 3 buttons, which is weird.
Well, could one of them be A, B, and then
it was like A,
start?
B, and I don't even know what the other one does. It might have just been a preset that they slapped in.
Start, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's like pause. And what's worse is that there were existing ports of, I think at least Mega Man 2 on mobile that they like delisted to replace it with this. It was just bizarre. Yeah, it was really, really bad. And apparently, they weren't emulators, because Japanese companies have this like phobia of emulators. They're like, oh my god, that's breaking the law. We're gonna be arrested instantly if we emulate a game that we own. You can't do that, even though it's like not illegal like anywhere. So they like build it from the ground up. Like the games were actually remade, and they did it like shit. They did it like garbage. And there's actually examples of ways that you could do it fine, like the Mega Man Legacy Collection, I think. Oh god,
Yeah,
it was one of the. It was no, not the Legacy Collection. It was the one that was just the first 6 games, but it wasn't the Legacy like 1 and 2. There was a different collection. So that was compiled, or that was put together by. Excuse me.
Bless.
That was put together by a team that was led by a guy named Frank Cifaldi. who is I forget exactly what his position is. He's but he works with the Video Game Preservation, the Video Game History Foundation. He's a co-director, so he's like all into game preservation and all that. And what they were gonna do is because it was like a 3-man team, and they were like, oh yeah, we'll just use an emulator. We'll just like make an emulator or whatever. And Capcom was like, you can't do that. And they're like, why? Why not? And they're like, you can't do that. They're like, it's not even a problem. Like, you own it. Like, no, it's you can't emulate hardware. Oh my god, you can't do that. So they were like, okay. So they had to come up with this like weird, like backwards ass solution where the game is essentially like there's an emulator like somewhere in there, but the actual game you're playing, it like it goes through like a filter where it's like the teleporter in like Star Trek, where all the atoms get like smashed down and then reconfigured at they get spit out again at the destination. All the info is just like crunched up and then recreated, and that's technically the game that they this really obtuse, unnecessary like solution so that they weren't technically running it on an emulator. And Capcom was just A-okay with that. And as far as I know, it runs fine. But yeah, I have some other issues with that collection. But overall, yeah, it's a fairly faithful. It's just stupid the way they had to do it. Obviously, the obvious classic example of a terrible port is the Silent Hill like HD Anniversary Collection. Remember that?
I've actually not really played much of Silent Hill. I think I played a little bit of Silent Hill 2 on PS5, which was strange. Because I remember seeing the sign that was in Comic Sans, I think.
Oh, is it?
Remember that? Yeah.
I haven't played 2.
Oh, yeah. There's a sign in Silent Hill 2 that's just white text Comic Sans on a sign.
That's
funny.
It's
so strange.
So, well, you're at least familiar enough with Silent Hill to know that, like, it's a very, like, very, like, foggy game.
Yeah, Konami.
Like, very misty. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, the fog was originally from Silent Hill 1. The first game has that. And the reason it has that is because the developers, or the team, specifically Team Silent at Konami, really wanted the idea that you were traversing a town that was like one large interconnected location that you could run around in. But the PlayStation 1 did not have the technical ability to actually render all of that. So their solution was, on top of like the town is split up into like 3 large areas, but on top of that they added this incredibly oppressive fog on top of it. So that you basically can't see anything further than 10 feet at most at any given point in the game. So that ended up working out because it was it creates this whole like fear of the unknown, like you don't know what you're running into, everything's shrouded in darkness, something just leaps out of the fog and it's freaky. It actually does a lot to add to the atmosphere, so much so that even when they didn't have those limitations to work with, unlike Silent Hill 2, for instance, and beyond, the fog was such an iconic part to the series that they just kept it, because it was just part of the identity of like the location of Silent Hill. So time passes. Pretty much everyone on Team Silent ends up leaving the company because Konami's a shithole to work for. And they're like, oh, the anniversary's coming up. Let's throw together a compilation of like the first 2 games. So they hand it off to not the B team, not the C team, but basically the D team at the company. Like people who did not know what the fuck was happening. And they were like, port Silent Hill 1 and 2 to like the PS3 or PS4 or whatever. And they were like, okay. So in the process of porting it, they were like, oh, this fog was like a hardware limitation. Well, we don't have that anymore, so let's just take it out. And it fucking destroys the game. Not just like because of the atmosphere, but because literally like the fog in Silent Hill 2 was partially used to like cover up like graphical flaws. Like there's a scene, there's like a infamous like side-by-side comparison of like the main character like getting into a boat. And in the original game, looks just fine. He's on like a foggy, it's just like a little rowboat. He's just on like the foggy shoreline, or hopping off the dock. In the HD collection, there's no fog. So you can see that the water is like a flat repeating texture. It looks like Minecraft water. It's so bad. It's like an infamous botch job.
Very good.
Yeah.
I love that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. People were really happy about it.